All right, so welcome back to another severe weather breakdown here. Today is March 26, 2025, and we're analyzing a risk that I did cover a little bit yesterday, but they have officially upgraded the tornado chances here in Washington and Oregon to a 5% with a 5% wind area and a 15% hatch tail risk. This has kind of been discussed the past 2 or 3 days here, so that we would have an very interesting risk in the Northwest United States, and it seems to be coming to fruition here. And tomorrow, there is, I believe, we have two slight risk areas. Along the southern Texas area, we'll have some flooding and probably some tornado and wind, hail, and all that kind of possibilities. I see the tornado chances being more kind of hit or miss with that southern Texas region, but it's still possible there. The warm front is a little more interesting in my opinion. So like that might be more of a unique supercellular kind of thing. Even though there will be supercells down here in southern Texas, it might be more of a multi-cluster, kind of messy, hail-ish kind of mode. We'll cover this later on in the video. And then our day 3 outlook, we have two marginal risk areas, one in Nebraska and one down here in Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas. And we'll also talk about the risk for Sunday. But let's go back to our day 1 risk. And you can see that pretty much outlines this area south of Seattle into the Portland, Eugene, Oregon area. And I pretty much agree with this forecast here, because once these storms get forming, they're probably going to, once the storms form, they're going to have definitely a risk for a supercell tornado or two, and then kind of cluster up into more of a multi-cell hail and wind bag, especially as they move closer to Seattle. I don't even know that tornado risk will be there, but it's just a precautionary 2%. But you never know. You truly never know. Farther west over here, higher temperature dew point spreads should keep any tornadic possibilities to a very, very small chance. But it's definitely more likely here in the valleys of Oregon and Washington there. So I'll go ahead and pull up the surface analysis. As you can see, we have a warm front, I would say, right about here right now. I'm just going to say where we separate somewhere in this vicinity. We're separate the mid-60s from the low to mid-50s. It's in the 50s in northern Washington, and 60s and even 70-degree readings here down in Oregon, which is a little unseasonably warm for this time of the year, that's for sure. And we do have 50s dew points, definitely making its way into this area. A little drier in some parts here. Let me just go out like this, if I can move the camera. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this will work. As you can see, we have lower dew points in some of the eastern areas over here. Actually, higher dew points in Washington at the moment. We don't have a defined moisture source. Moisture source. Terribly sorry. But we do have the Pacific, but it's harder to get any moisture into this area, so it's not very surprising. But along the coast here, we have 50s dew points, which is pretty much what we expected. With over 60s temperatures, it should, at least for this area, create a pretty unstable atmosphere, and I would not be surprised to see some scary-looking soundings out of this place. And if I pull up a most recent HRR run, yeah, I'm going to pull up the 16Z so we can see all the way out. You can see the light showers we got going on at the moment. It's definitely going to be a little late with this convective initiation here. I'm saying sometime this evening. It's just showing more, this is showing about 5 o'clock, actually. It's pretty much on time. You can see we have kind of something trying to form off the mountains here, and then we have one big supercell. I kind of agree with this. There's going to be 1 or 2 storms that manage to make it in just the right little valley out here to really get beefy coming off the mountain like that. And we don't really have any kind of a defined forcing here. We just have upper level winds coming out from the trough out here. So pretty much anywhere along here. Really don't really know where, but definitely anywhere in here. I think this is a pretty realistic depiction. Probably 1 or 2 pretty strong, honestly, supercells developing in this area, moving north as they form into a cluster and just mainly causing wind damage as it goes later on in their lives, with just some heavy rain and wind after that, pretty much. But it's done a pretty good job showing this storm right here, and let's see how it's doing with temperatures, if it's realistic or not. That's my big thing out here. Are they going to be depicting the warmth correctly? Yeah, definitely picking up in the 70s out east. It's doing okay with these. Yeah, it's doing not bad at all, these temperatures. Yeah, it's pretty realistic. Might be overdoing it a little bit. I don't know if we'll reach 77. I can actually pull up the National Weather Service out here. I should have already done that, but I need to do that more often. But we probably will reach low 70s in this area. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up a NAM sounding. I'll find the most unstable parcel I can. I'll just go mean layer. What you usually want to look for when trying to find the best tornado environment. I say tornado, but best storm environment usually has the higher MLL cape, which is true for this time of the year. Not always true. Don't quote me. Don't quote me on that. But I'll just pick an area right here. This is where our best instability. We definitely have some elongated wind shear in the atmosphere. Not the best looking shear profile, but I'm sure the terrain in the Oakland area will make up for that for sure. And a bit wonky in the low levels. That's because of the terrain. It's mountainous out there. Don't ever pay attention to something like that. Yeah, if actual chasers or meteorologists know where the areas in this part of the country will have that increased potential. It's usually some kind of valley between where mountain ranges combine. You get a lot of flow going through, so don't pay attention to this. Pay attention to this long and very thick cape profile we have here, which is pretty rare for this part of the United States. I mean, ML cape almost 2,000 joules per kilogram is pretty crazy, especially for March. Just a very unseasonable and honestly not even northwest sounding. I would never even see stuff like this. They very rarely ever have a tornado potential in this place in the first place. But definitely some more powerful flow in the mid levels. Not as much up higher on, but definitely a decent wind shear profile, at least for this area. And the 3 cape is pretty impressive. 0 to 3 kilometers. That's definitely going to support some organized supercells in this local area. Would not be surprised if we get a tornado or two, for sure. Maybe even a few more than 2, maybe 3 or 4 tornadoes. I don't know. If you get the right storm in the right place, you could have a family of tornadoes and maybe even some damaging tornadoes. So definitely keep an eye out for that today. And just look at the mid-level lapse rates. Not as impressive as the low-level lapse rates out here, but definitely some hail potential. That's definitely going to happen today. Let's look at surface dew points, predicted surface dew points. We know 50s are already in the area, so it's doing a good job picking up on the 50s in the dry air out east. Yeah, it's showing a 60-degree value making its way in Oregon. I think that's honestly possible. I know some people were thinking that's not possible. I definitely see a 60-degree dew point out here. If you get a 77 over a 60 with this kind of atmospheric profile, I mean, that's just like something you see, I don't know, in the deep south or plains this time of the year. Definitely not a normal northwest severe weather event. Of course, severe weather is not a normal thing you see up here in the first place. So this is an interesting event for the day. And let's go ahead and look at tomorrow across Texas. We won't cover too much of Texas. We're going to move? Because I don't see it as the biggest risk of the day. Okay, this thing is bugging out on me. I'm sorry about that. It's my Wi-Fi. Just get that going. But, yeah, let's just go down here to Texas. Tomorrow, let's see. This is early Thursday morning. Already 60-degree dew points, making its place well up into Oklahoma. Yeah, it's just going to be an unstable, probably weakly sheared environment, but definitely a very interesting little setup down here. Really messy. Probably some large hail and damaging winds, and maybe a brief tornado possible. I really don't see that being super likely, but definitely possible down here. I'm just going to go ahead and take a sounding in this. And look at this broad area of instability. It's almost like a summertime thing going on down here. So we'll just go ahead and take a sounding here. That'd be nice. Hello. Oh, yeah, this is the HRR model. I'm stupid. All right, just zoom this out till tomorrow afternoon. No, yeah. You can see how it pretty much wipes all the instability out, but it still makes its way around a rain-cooled air for our risk up in Nebraska. Surface temperatures will probably be pretty warm out here. Yeah, we'll be 80 degrees before the storms really get going. Biggest thing though is definitely gonna be flooding. There's already I don't have the graphic pulled up, but there's a moderate risk for flooding here in southern Texas. So keep that in mind. I mean, this is showing 10 inches of rain. Yeah, I don't know if we get 10 inches of rain. Some spots might get near 10. The 15 there I saw was kind of crazy. But definitely 10 inches, maybe even near a foot of rain in very isolated locations. But I'm saying more like 4 to 8 at most down here. And then far north you go, the less you get. Houston, I'd watch out because it will make its way north. So keep that in mind Friday. Later on, let's go ahead and look at our storms up here that we're expecting, our little supercell risk that I've outlined the other day before that I said might be pretty interesting. Let's just see what it shows. I need to pull up. Yeah, this is the 12Z. Okay. I'm going to have to see what it shows for Friday here. I mean, Thursday. Sorry. So this is today. Just some flow going across. It's not really showing anything except for some storms making its way in southern Iowa. Of course, this is just one run. This is a day out. Take this with a grain of salt. This is kind of like midday Thursday. It's not really doing a good job picking up on that slight risk they put out here, but I definitely think I can agree with that. Let me just take a look at the dew points. Biggest thing this time of the year is moisture. Yeah, not very impressive farther where the storms are, but definitely a good plume of 50-degree dew points, which is plenty enough for severe weather. Maybe not tornadoes, but definitely severe weather. A little plume of 60, probably enhanced by that convection. We'll probably have some type of morning convection in here, moisten our atmosphere a little bit, so we don't have to completely rely on the Gulf. The low, actually, I need to find out what the low center is, but I doubt the low is very strong with this risk. It's mostly on a warm front, so I mean, 50-degree dew points are pretty good for a warm front setup. I don't see supercell. I don't see tornadoes being super possible on this day, but it might be interesting. Probably damaging winds and small hail. But it is an interesting little event. Let me just pull up an AM sounding. Find the most unstable area I can. I'll just go ahead and pull up the... I don't like using the supercell or tornado composite, but I'll use it here to find a good parcel to take a sounding out of. See how it pretty much... That Nebraska, Iowa, northern Missouri area, pretty much where our slight risk is actually. Let me pull that up real fast. Day 2 outlook. Our little, pretty much, yeah, Storm Prediction Center pretty much agreeing here. Putting that 2% tornado, yeah, 5% wind. I don't know if the hail risk will be that widespread, but, I mean, can't hurt to issue that. People never take hail serious enough, unless, actually, people in the plains probably take that pretty serious. All right, let's go ahead and take I don't want to take this anomalous one over here. We'll take the more likely one. This right here, probably. And let me find one with better moisture, because I think that's personally what's going to decide if so. Never mind. Moisture is the only thing I hear that I'd be worried about. Lots and lots of low-level shear, actually, with this predicted sounding. Excuse me, they're still kind of sick here. Lots of low-level moisture. Lots of low-level shear. Modest deep layer shear looks like from this profile. Still turning, a tiny bit of backing, but not much at all, actually. It's decent skew deep plot here. Lattice rates aren't terribly steep for the plains. Actually, I take that back. The low surface of 3 kilometers is not very steep, but past that steep enough. Lots of thick cape in the atmosphere. This is a pretty impressive warm front setup. I mean, 2,000, almost 3,000 in mixed layer. I know this is just one run of one model. We won't truly know to the day of when the Storm Protection Center puts out a sounding in this area. I didn't look at the one for the northwest risk because I don't even know if they're going to have where the National Weather Service office is. It's really a true idea where the best potential is, because when you're looking at northwest like that, it's kind of hard to find. It's just the terrain there. It's hard to find the actual area, an actual sounding in the area where the risk will be that day. But this looks impressive. A little bit of backing, but definitely a decent turning in the mid levels and the low levels. Especially a lot here in the low levels. It's definitely picking up on that. This is typical warm front. Typical supercell on a warm front, producing weak tornadoes possible. Maybe some hail. Temperature, this is definitely a very warm and moist setup, though, for this time of the year. But definitely warm front. As we can see, we have 60s and 70s, and then just 50s, and back in here 40s. So that warm front moves north there. That you can see we kind of go from boom. This is really a true idea of the warm front. You could early morning 64 to 52. Big difference there. Yeah. And I'm gonna go ahead and pull up just to look at. Let's see what else we got. Do we have another day 3 outlook? Let's go ahead and pull that up. I'm not gonna do much on this, but it's definitely mentioned in risk out here in Nebraska and a risk down here in the deep south. This is probably along the cold front, or not really cold front, probably along the same system producing this down here. So more likely just flooding and damaging wind. We'll go ahead and look at this Nebraska setup. Computer's about to die, so I'll have to end this video soon. But I'll just go out to Friday evening. 70s out here, very, very warm. Oh, yeah, I got an 80s region there. That's probably our convection in there. I don't even want to look at the models where it's showing anything yet. I'll just find a very unstable parcel, which is right along that axis between the cold and warm air there. This is late Friday. Take a quick sounding out here. This is more interesting to me than that deep south stuff, but I would keep an eye on that, and I'll probably make a video talking more in depth in Risk for Friday. Okay, a bit of a wonky profile, but definitely some shear here. Really steep lapse rates, especially in the lowest 3 kilometers here. High dew point temperature spreads, so tornado potential doesn't look very apparent at the moment, but decent instability in the mixed levels up there. Shear, okay, a little bit of backing, not the best profile I've ever seen, but yes, we could have more of like a multi-cell mixed wind bag event up here. I'd keep an eye on that though. Things could change. And let's just take a quick look at our risk for actually, you know what? I'll make a bigger video talking about our risk for Sunday, but I'll go ahead and just look at the Storm Prediction Center, let you guys take a look at that before I end this video. You can always access these things online. Just look up SPC NOAA, excuse me. Yeah. This is, they've outlined a big 15% area for Sunday. Not really sure what will happen today. That day. Probably some tornadoes and all modes of severe weather. Not necessarily a tornado outbreak. We don't know the specific parts of it yet, but keep an eye out for that. And then a continuation of that risk farther east. Both very big risk outlines, though, for this far out. So that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed.